Have you ever really stopped to think about how you know the things you know? I mean, take something absolutely fundamental, like the sun rising tomorrow morning. How do you actually know it's going to happen? Well, the Scottish philosopher David Hume famously challenged this exact certainty nearly 3 centuries ago. And he had a point. Sure, the sun has risen every single morning in recorded history. Our sciences tell us the Earth's rotation is incredibly stable. But is the sun rising tomorrow an absolute 100% mathematically guaranteed certainty? What if some massive rogue asteroid hits the Earth tonight? Extremely unlikely, yes, but not impossible, right? Our belief that the sun will rise tomorrow is overwhelmingly probable, but it fundamentally relies on an underlying logical leap. And today, we're going to explore the fascinating mechanics behind those everyday leaps. So, welcome to today's Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to be your guide as we literally unpack the engine of human thought. Today, we're breaking down the 3 fundamental tools of human reasoning: deduction, induction, and abduction. By the time we finish, you're going to see the hidden architecture behind every argument you hear, every scientific discovery, and honestly, every daily decision you make. Here is our quick game plan for today. We'll start with the logic of inferences, move into deduction, then induction, tackle abduction, and finally, bring it all together so you can master all 3. All right, let's dive right into part 1, the logic of inferences. Basically, everything we reason through falls into a few distinct categories, and it all depends on how our starting evidence connects to our final conclusions. You can group all logical inferences into 3 main buckets. First, deductive inferences. These are the absolute strongest because they focus entirely on structure. If your starting points are true, the conclusion is absolutely guaranteed. Then we have inductive inferences. These are the ones we use most often in our daily lives. They rely on our past experiences to give us conclusions that are probably true, even if they lack that absolute ironclad guarantee. And finally, abductive inferences. These also deal in probability, but they work backwards. They take a set of evidence and try to provide the absolute best possible explanation for why that evidence exists in the first place. Moving right along to section 2, deduction, the structural guarantee. Let's start with the heavy hitter. Deduction is the realm of absolute mathematical certainty, provided, of course, that you follow the rules. In deductive reasoning, we are always looking for what's called a valid inference. Now, that is an incredibly specific term. A valid inference means the structural skeleton of the argument guarantees the truth of the conclusion, assuming your premises are true. But here is the kicker. It does not mean the conclusion is actually true in the real world. Logic and truth are 2 completely different things. Validity is just a property of the logical form. If it's literally impossible for the conclusion to be false when the premises are true, congratulations, you've got a valid argument. This structure essentially turns our language into pure math. It's called a disjunctive syllogism. Let's break it down. Say, either you can go to the movies tonight, or you can go to the party tomorrow. That's our X or Y. Then you check your schedule and find out, oops, you cannot go to the movies tonight. X is not true. The conclusion is totally automatic. Therefore, you can go to the party tomorrow. Y is true. It doesn't matter what real-world statements you substitute for X and Y. If steps 1 and 2 are true, step 3 is an unavoidable, rock-solid guarantee. But, structure can be super tricky. On one side, we have a wonderfully valid structure called modus ponens. If X, then Y. X is true. Therefore, Y is true. Perfectly logical, flawless. But on the other side, we have a very common trap. It's an invalid inference called affirming the consequent. And it goes like this. If X, then Y. Y is true. Therefore, X is true. Now, that might sound totally fine at first glance, but logically, it completely falls apart. Let's look at a real-world example to see why this is so dangerous. Consider this line of logic. If it snows over 3 inches, the schools close. Okay, we look outside and the school's closed. Therefore, it definitely snowed over 3 inches, right? Actually, no. This is affirming the consequent, and it is a terrible deduction. Why? Because schools close for a dozen other reasons. A massive power outage, a hurricane warning, a burst pipe. Just because the result, the school's closing, happened, it absolutely doesn't guarantee the specific trigger of snow. The truth of the outcome doesn't guarantee the starting condition, and that is exactly why deduction requires such rigorous, strict structural discipline. Okay, on to section 3, induction. This is all about learning from experience. So, if deduction is the strict, rigid realm of math, induction is the messy, practical realm of actually living in the world. Induction is how we gather everyday evidence to build our beliefs. The most common form is reasoning from very specific instances up to generalities. Let's say I notice that every year, right around the second week of March, red-winged blackbirds return to my neighborhood. That's instance 1, instance 2, instance 3, over several years. I add all those observations up and draw a general conclusion. Red-winged blackbirds always return here in mid-March. Is it mathematically guaranteed? No. A sudden shift in climate or a new predator could easily alter their patterns, but it's highly probable based on my accumulated experience. And what's cool is this brilliantly illustrates how induction works in the exact opposite direction too, from huge generalities down to specific instances. Think about it. As learners, we inherit massive generalizations from teachers, from scientists, from history. For example, you know the generalization that water freezes at 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So when the local weatherman says it's going to be 30 degrees tonight, you instantly use induction to predict your specific bird bath outside is going to be a solid block of ice tomorrow morning. You don't need absolute deductive proof to know you shouldn't try to let a bird take a bath in it. We actually rely on inductive reasoning so instinctively that it's completely baked into our everyday language. Where there is smoke, there is fire. When you see dark smoke pouring out of a building's window, you don't stop on the sidewalk to write out a deductive syllogism. No way. You intuitively rely on past experience and known patterns to immediately conclude there's a fire. We navigate almost our entire lives through these strong, highly probable inductive inferences. Which brings us to section 4, Abduction, the best explanation. So what happens when you have the evidence but you have no clue what the cause is? That brings us to abduction. This is the logic of detectives, doctors diagnosing an illness, and scientists. The absolute crucial point here is that abduction is an inference to the best explanation. You start with accepted, known data, and you try to find the hypothesis that best unifies it all together. But how do you actually know which hypothesis is best? Well, you use these 4 explanatory virtues. A really great explanation must actually be explanatory of the facts. It should be simple, it should be conservative, which just means it fits with our already established knowledge, and it must have depth, meaning it doesn't accidentally raise more questions than it answers. Let's put on our detective hats for a second. Imagine you baked this amazing pumpkin bread. Now, it's completely gone. There are crumbs all over the floor, the plastic bag is torn to shreds, and your dog is sitting on the couch actively avoiding eye contact with his ears completely pinned back. Now, you could hypothesize that your roommate ate it, but does that explain the eviscerated bag and the super guilty dog? Not really. People usually don't eat off the floor like that. The hypothesis that the dog ate the bread is simply the most explanatory. It perfectly accounts for every single piece of evidence at the crime scene. But what if you try to argue, hey, maybe a stray dog broke into the house, ate the bread, left without a trace, and my dog just feels guilty because he failed to protect the house? I mean, that explains the evidence, right? Sure, but it completely fails the virtue of simplicity. As William of Ockham famously stated in what we now call Occam's razor, entities should not be multiplied beyond necessity. A theory with a secret ninja intruder dog just has way too many moving parts. The absolute simplest explanation, your dog did it, is logically the best. And this brings us to conservativeness and depth. Conservative science builds neatly on established laws. Think about a new physics theory that still fundamentally respects Newton's laws of motion. It fits our worldview, it makes sense. Conversely, conspiracy theories, like the idea that the moon landing was faked on a Hollywood soundstage, violate these virtues entirely. To believe the landing was faked, you literally have to reject decades of technological history, the entire Cold War space race, and the origin of countless satellite technologies. It is the opposite of conservative. Furthermore, it completely lacks depth. I mean, if it was faked, how did they keep thousands of NASA employees entirely silent for decades? Were they all brainwashed? How? Every single answer the conspiracist gives just creates 3 new unexplained mysteries. Now, does this mean science is stuck in its ways and can never challenge the status quo? Absolutely not. If we only accepted conservative explanations, we would still think the sun revolved around the earth. Revolutionary ideas can absolutely triumph, but they are governed by this golden rule. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. If you want to propose a wild theory that completely upends all established scientific knowledge, you had better bring a massive mountain of undeniable proof. All right, let's bring it all together in Section 5, Mastering the 3 Inferences. We have covered a tremendous amount of ground today, so let's synthesize everything we've learned into this ultimate cheat sheet. Next time you're analyzing an argument, just ask yourself, is this person using deduction? If so, are they focusing on strict structural validity where the premises absolutely guarantee the conclusion? Or are they using induction? Are they relying on past patterns and specific experiences to make a highly probable prediction? Or finally, are they using abduction? Are they looking at a really messy set of evidence and trying to offer the simplest, deepest, most conservative explanation for it? Knowing exactly which tool is being used is always your first step to knowing if it's being used correctly. So I want to leave you with a bit of a challenge. Logic isn't just something for dusty old philosophy books. It is literally the operating system of your brain. Tomorrow, when you read a news article or listen to a friend's wild theory over coffee, or even just predict the weather, pause for a second. Ask yourself, which inference are they using right now? And more importantly, where is their logic failing them? Are they accidentally affirming the consequent? Are they totally ignoring Occam's razor? Once you start seeing this structural matrix of human reasoning, the world makes a whole lot more sense.